People take to yoga quite often nowadays. I find a lot of people practicing yoga and meditation. The practice of following yoga as taught by the self-styled gurus of today, I'll be doing a separate video on that. In the meanwhile, some important academic information for those who are interested in studying or following yoga system or philosophy or practicing meditation yoga based on Patanjali Yoga Sutra, I would like to share some information. Recently I saw a video in YouTube where one of my friends was addressing a group of people and somebody asked a question that he is a doctor and they addressed a question. Where exactly is the mind and what exactly is the relationship it has with brain? Can you locate the thoughts, mind and brain? Yes, it's a very pertinent question and it has to be addressed too. There are certain things which are physical and certain things which are not physical. To the later category belongs mind. So let me elaborate further. So brain is a physical organ as we all know. It receives stimuli, that is, it receives information from outside. The brain always receives information, hundreds and thousands of information at any given point of time. At the time at the time of my speaking to you now, my eyes receive a lot of stimuli, ears hear a lot of sounds, and I am aware of so many things. But again, my mind is focused on one thing. Now, for the time being, I'm using the term mind. My brain is aware of certain things. It is aware of a lot of reflexes, a lot of information. And it chooses certain information and it is collected. And this is the function the brain does. That is collection of information. Just like as a CPU in a computer collects all the information and is stored. Later, it is being segregated into folder and further into file for our ready reference at a later date or a time immediately. So this is the function of the mind. While the brain, the physical organ, receives information from outside us, it is the job of the mind to classify them, to allocate, to put it this way, to certain folders, give them a name for us to recollect later and then use it as a source of knowledge at a later date for our behavior. As such, mind is the activity of the brain, whereas brain is the physical organ. So, when an information is collected and it is stored in the brain, now the mind has to sift it through its arm. It is called intellect. In Sanskrit, it is called intellect. Intellect performs the function of an adjudicator. See, an information is received. For example, a color comes. You see a blue color. When the color comes, it's just received as a color. Now the mind has a basic idea and then it has got a general category, colors. So out of 6 colors, 7 colors are there, then it identifies certain qualities and assign this particular color as blue. Now it is a factual position. That is, this is color is blue. Whatever you have seen is blue. So this information what you are seeing as blue is correct. This is a factual judgment. This one function mind is doing. This intellect is doing. The second function an intellect does is to pass value judgments. See, there are two things always in life. Whenever we see things, without our knowledge, we observe two things. One, whether it is correct or incorrect, that is factual. The second is judgmental, whether it is right or wrong. This is the judgmental part, which is purely subjective. That means that it is your attitude of how you look at, perceive, see things. Because things themselves do not have any qualities uh, existing in themselves. So what mind does is it forms certain value judgment. Some acts are right, some acts are wrong. For example, killing someone is wrong and helping others or loving others is right. This value judgment is also passed by intellect, directed by mind. Now, the basic question remains how mind is directed. What is the reason why a particular action is chosen to be right and why a particular action is chosen to be called as wrong? Because this is again directed by mind by a higher level called chitta. Chitta is a term which is used in yoga system of Indian philosophical thought. Chitta is Chitta exists on a higher plane and it directs the mind accordingly. So Chitta decides this is correct, this is incorrect, this is right and this is wrong. Loving others is right, killing others is wrong. At the same time, when you look at it very carefully, for some people, killing others is right, loving others is wrong. Why does it happen? Because Chitta is pure knowledge. Even though it is pure knowledge, when it exists at the individual level, it gets contaminated. Avidya, that is nescience, ignorant. This is because of the karmic particles. So whenever we perform an action, that action leaves certain residue. When we think and observe some things, a negative thought is also produced. For example, the moment we think something as good, immediately a contrary thought also occurs in our mind that it is also bad. If something looks good, contrarily, it's something that also bad comes to our mind. If we like something, we also think that we may not like it also. That is an option. We get choices. So in that case, what happens is all these thoughts are energy forms. Mind is also a process where the processes are exhibited through thoughts. These thoughts are nothing but energies. The energy is basically according to Indian system, it is magnetic. But now the Western science, neurologists say that it is electrical. Now they are graduating to the conception that it might be magnetic. When the message that passes through the synaptic gap between nerve cells may be through to magnetic force. So let it be. Now, this, when a thought is created, that is energy, as I said, that cannot be destroyed. It stays there forever. Where does it go? It attaches to oneself. Here the self is the higher level, the philosophical level. It forms one's psyche, what we call as loosely defined as a personality. So a predisposition. That predisposition directs the chitta also. That predisposition, when it disturbs chitta, directs chitta, accordingly it directs mind and we act. So to put it this flow chart like this, chitta, once a message received from the brain, it goes to the mind. Mind decides this is right or wrong, correct or incorrect. That predetermination to say something is right or wrong, correct or incorrect, is determined by chitta. Why, how, and why? Because of the karma pala, the actions which you have performed and which form the essence, psyche, or personality of yourself as an individual. So, any action which we perform is from the chitta level, expressed through mind and carried upon by the brain through our organs of action. Now, to root out these thoughts, when it is the purpose of yoga. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That is, cessation of modification thought is the goal of yoga. Itself is yoga. That is the first sutra of Patanjali. So when you still the thoughts of the chitta, the thought that arise. When a thought arises, a counter thought also arises. When you stop those numerous thoughts, the mind becomes still. So the highest philosophy is to be still. See, two great gurus we have. One is Sri Krishna and another is Sri Dakshinamurti. One conveys everything by keeping quiet. That is Dakshinamurti. Upadesa from Dakshinamurti, a Swarupa of Shiva, is to be silent. When he teaches his disciples, he conveys everything through his silence and radiates his energy and his calmness. On the other hand, Sri Krishna expresses everything very lucidly and by expressing himself. One is by talking lucidly, another is keeping quiet. Even in that case, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, of languages, I am silence. So here silence means not only keeping quiet, it is a question of keeping the mind still. In Tamil, there is a mantra reported to have been given by Subramanya to Arunagirinatha, a great saint. 4 words, and that made him a spiritual giant. These 4 words are Shumma Iru Sollara. Loosely translated, keep quiet, stop talking. Here, when we say stop talking, the mind should remain still. How do you make the mind still? I will explain to you some basic points in Chitta. I will explain this further in the next video, and also I'll quote some of the results found by a study on the effects of meditation on human brain.